For today's activity, or for today's lesson, we are going to be completing activities 2, 3, and 4 in your integer study guide. So please make sure that you have that out and make sure that you are following along. Make sure that you are practicing when I ask you to practice, and then make sure that you are correcting yours to make sure that you did your practice correct. And if you're having any questions, please make sure that you ask those, so that I can help you to understand anything that you don't understand. So we're going to start with activity 2. We're going to do this one together. So as I go through this, I want you to also be going through this on your study guide. The table below shows the change in 5 different stock prices on a certain day. So we can see that stock A changed by 36 hundredths. Stock B was at a loss of 48 hundredths. Stock C was at a gain of 17 hundredths. Stock D was at a loss of 13 hundredths. And stock E was at a loss of 36 hundredths. Now, when we talk about hundredths in the decimals, that's where money is, right? So this is 36 cents, negative 48 cents, 17 cents, negative 13 cents, and negative 36 cents. So for question A, which stock prices fell? Well, the ones that fell are the ones that are showing a loss. So that would be B, D, and E. So B, D, and E. And then which stock prices rose? Well, those are the ones that are showing the positive gains. So stock A rose 36 cents, and the value of stock C rose by 17 cents. So for that one, we would say A and C. Which stock price changed the most? So for this one, the one that changed the most is actually this one right here. It changed in value by 48 cents. So that would be stock B. And it changed by 48 cents. It was a loss of 48 cents. I'm not sure why my 4s always do that. So a loss of 48 cents. Which stock price changed the least? So the one that changed the least is the one that only lost 13 cents. And that was stock D. Okay. Which stock prices changed by more than 30 cents? Okay, so as we look at these, it looks like this one, the change in this one was 36 cents. The change in this one was 48 cents. It was a loss of 48 cents. The change in this one was a loss of 36 cents. So all of these changed by more than 30 cents. They either gained or they lost more than 30 cents. So that would have been A, B, and E. Okay, the next one. Complete the following statements. Stock A rose 36 cents. The change in the price of stock A can be represented by the number positive 30.36. Complete the following statements. Stock B fell 48 cents. The change in the price of stock B can be represented by a negative 0.48. Stock F, which is not listed in the table, fell more than 55 cents. So it fell more than 55 cents. Write a possible number to represent the change in the price of stock F. So if it fell 55 cents or more than 55 cents, we can say that it lost 55 cents in value. And then the last one, H, stock G, which is not listed in the table, changed by 0.07, which is 7 hundredths, which is just 7 cents, right? Write 2 different numbers to represent the change in the stock price of G. So we could say 0.07 or a negative 0.07. Because if the price changed by 7 cents, that change could either be a gain of 7 cents or a loss of 7 cents. Okay, so the next activity in your guided notes packet says the table shows the elevation of 8 different cities in California. So this is activity number 3. What I would like you to do is I want you to do this activity on your own. So I want you to push pause. You're going to complete the activity, and then I want you to push play, and I want you to see if you got all of these questions right. Please make sure you're doing the practice correctly. So practice first and then correct. Don't just copy down the answers. That doesn't do you any good when it comes to your own learning. So here we go. We have the cities in California, and then we have their elevation in meters. So for part A, it says put the cities in order from greatest elevation to least elevation in the table below. Start the table with the city with the greatest elevation. So remember, when it comes to negative numbers, the bigger the negative number is, the smaller the value is. Okay, so if we're putting the cities in order from greatest elevation to least elevation, and we want to start the table with the city with the greatest elevation, we're going to find the smallest number, which is right here, -5. So we would start with Heber, because we're talking about the negatives. -5 has our greatest value. The next one would be Indio. At -6. The next one would be El Centro at -12. The next one would be Imperial at -18. The next one would be Coachella at -22. The next one would be Thermal at -37. The next one would be Desert Shores, and then Salton Sea Beach. Okay, now we have all of these in order from greatest elevation to least elevation. Okay, the next one says put the cities in order from the city that is farthest from sea level to the city that is closest to sea level. Start the table with the city that is farthest from sea level. Now, if we think about sea level being 0, then that means the city that is the farthest from sea level would be the Salton Beach. Okay, that one would be the farthest from sea level because it is 67 meters away from being at 0. And if we consider 0 sea level, that one would be the farthest from sea level. So Salton Beach, and that's -67. And then we would have to do the Desert Shores, because that one is 61 meters away from sea level. And then we would have to do Thermal, because that one is 37 meters away from sea level. And then we would have to do Coachella, which is 22 meters away from sea level. And then we would have to do Imperial, and then El Centro, and then Indio, and then Heber. Okay, so now the next question, what is the difference in elevation between Heber and Indio? So if we look at Heber, which is right here at -5, and Indio, which is -6, The difference between those is only 1 meter. The difference between -6 and -5 would be 1 meter. Okay, because if this is sea level and we have a -5 and then a -6, you can see that the difference between those is just one space. Okay, what is the difference in elevation between Heber and Salton Beach? Okay, so Heber is at -5 and Salton Beach is at -67. Okay, so we can see that Salton Beach is at -67 and Heber is at -5. So if I plot those two locations, if I just make a vertical number line here, you can see that Heber would be 5 away from 0. So if we consider 0 our sea level, Heber would be 5 spaces away from that. And then if we have our Salton Sea Beach, it's down at -67. So if we're trying to figure out the difference in elevation between Heber and Salton Beach, they're both negative numbers, okay, but the difference between the elevations would be a positive number. It would be positive 62. If we were to count how many spaces between -5 and -67, we would count that there are 62 spaces between those. Okay, so now we are going to move on to activity 4. I want you to do this one on your own. So push pause, complete this, and then push play and correct, and see if you got these correct. Okay. The biggest temperature changes to occur in the same day occurred in Spearfish, South Dakota on January 22nd, 1943. The table shows the temperature at different times during the day. So at 7:30, the temperature was at -4 degrees. At 7:32, 45 degrees. At 9 a.m., 54 degrees. And 9:27, -4. So what is the change in temperature from 7:30 to 7:32? Okay, so let's just do a little thermometer here. And maybe you did this. So if this is 0, and this is -4 degrees, 45 degrees is going to be up here. So if we're wanting to know the change in temperature from 7:30 to 7:32, well, when you move from -4 to 0, the temperature is changing 4 degrees. And then when you're moving from 0 to 45, the temperature is changing another 45 degrees. So the total change in temperature would be 4 degrees plus 45 degrees, which is 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, for the next one, what is the change in temperature from 7:32 to 9 a.m.? Okay, so I'm going to draw another makeshift thermometer here. Okay, so at 7:32, the temperature was 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And at 9 a.m., the temperature was 54 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we're trying to find the temperature change between 7:32 and 9 a.m., we would take 54 and we would find the difference between that and 45. So that is going to be 9 degrees. That was the change. Okay, let's look at the next one. So what is the change in temperature from 9 a.m. to 9:27? So let's hurry and do a thermometer here. So if this is 0, and at 9 a.m. the temperature was 54 degrees, and at 9:27 the temperature was -4 degrees, and we want to find the change in temperature. So from here to here, it dropped 54 degrees, right? So that's a change of 54 degrees. And then from here to here, it dropped another 4 degrees, so that would be a change of 4 degrees. So the total change would be 54 plus 4, which would be 58 degrees. And then the last two questions, what was the warmest time of the day and that would be 54 degrees. And then what was the coldest time of the day? And that would actually be a tie, 7:30 and 9:27. Okay, so now I want you to go ahead and move on to completing your integers b in ALEKS.